Let's try that again. Mic on. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the ESO headquarters at PAX West 2016. We are up here in room 3AB on level 3. If you're here at PAX, you should come see us. Our next panel is going to be the Creating ESO Development Stories panel, where our developers here are going to tell some of their fun and fascinating stories about creating the Elder Scrolls Online.
Hours worth of them.
Hours. Well, you only have an hour. And I'll let them introduce themselves. So take it away, guys.
Thanks, Jess. I'm Mike Finnigan, Dungeon Lead.
Brian Wheeler, the PvP Lead.
Rich Lambert, the Creative Director.
Philip Draven, Lead Systems Designer.
Is your microphone on?
I don't know. Testing. 1, 2, 3.
There it is.
Good.
There we go. We got it now.
Fun stories.
So a lot of people think that game development is this exact science. It's this, you do something, you do it right the first time, it's perfect, an engineer and an artist.
And you would be right.
An engineer, an artist, and a designer all get together and they make the perfect game.
And it's rainbows and unicorns.
Right, and that's not how it works. Game development is an iterative process. And there's a lot of things that kind of happen while you're, trying to make something. Sometimes they're happy accidents. Sometimes they're really, really terrible and cruel accidents. The goal of this is to kind of tell, some of the funny stories, some of the weird things that happen over the course of development. So, I think I want to start it off with one of the new features that we just put in dueling. And
in its early stages of dueling, mind
yes. In its early stages of dueling, we tried to get the system in as quick as possible. So there wasn't a lot of UI things that we could do, user interface things. We didn't have all of the perfect messaging in. And so we borrowed a lot of things. That's how we iterate. We grab something that's already in the game, morph it a little bit, and then see how the functionality works and what are the things we need to call out. And with dueling, we borrowed a lot of the look and sounds
the notification noises?
And notifications for grouping.
Oops.
Well, so the first time.
That's what we had.
Yeah,
sure, we had sound.
So the very first time this came onto our development server, and we were doing a company playtest, I think it was only Wheeler and Bobby, who's our lead UI guy, that knew this system was in. And we were testing some One Tamriel things and whatnot. And so Bobby, being the troll he is, ran over to some Dark Anchors, and there were some dungeon guys there and a bunch of other people, and he started challenging people to duels.
This was before the flag drop.
Right, and so the sound that you hear is the grouping sound. The notification looks just like grouping.
I should get
so everybody's like, oh, he's invited me to a group, except wham, they fall down and they die. And so he was trolling everybody around the Dark Anchor areas by dueling them and killing them over and over and over until people started going, what the hell is going on? What is he doing? And he was testing duels.
And it's great because
and giggling
we have a feedback channel. So whenever we do these tests, we get feedback back. So a lot of the initial things, like I was standing by a Dark Anchor and someone asked me to group and then I died. That's totally not what happened. Sorry about that.
I think with siege weaponry, one of the first things we found out was how far they can shoot. And we were out in Cyrodiil shooting weapons, they were going 200, 300 meters before. And it was awesome because from your side, you saw the person die, but the other person was just walking around just splat. Yeah. Like, what the hell was that? And then Ed comes over to me and goes, you need to make the range a little bit shorter, please. And then people started to actually see, oh, okay, now I'm getting hit by the weaponry. But the ghost weaponry was a lot of fun in the initial block world of Cyrodiil. I had fun with it.
That's because you were the one killing everybody.
Well, because I knew about it. Nobody else. That's something you're going to find out in development, that the person who is responsible or the product owner of the thing knows everything about it, and they have the most fun with it, and everybody else that's a sucker to deal with it in the company.
The enjoyment of it is definitely on how much you know about it. That's for sure.
But that's also useful to learn. Like, all right, are we setting enough Are we giving enough information?
Some people learn.
Some people do.
Some people
just troll.
Just some.
Yeah. One of the things that happened with One Tamriel development specifically was as we were going through
specifically, everybody drink,
and re-itemizing the world with the item sets.
PvP IRL.
We found that as we started adding the item sets to the quest rewards, that people weren't noticing that there were item sets now tied to them. So we're like, all right, let's just start renaming these unique rewards to also include references to the item set. Seems sensible.
Right.
So the first pass of it was kind of a systemic approach where we just said, okay, let's grab the right keywords throw them
Throw
on
'em on
there.
there.
Yeah.
And we started getting bug reports of things like the Amalexia's Ordinator breastplate of the Night Mother.
Right.
Which, if you're familiar with the lore, is really not a
That
fan.
would never happen. Yeah.
And it's like, okay, we need to take a step back. Let's look through these and find better combinations of ways to word this. So that was fun.
I know I talked about it earlier, but the first iteration we did on trials, we had these various things that we were going through, and the first iteration had 24 players. So we were trying to get an idea of what we were going to do with whether we could have 24 players or 12 players and stuff. And the first time we got 24 players in there, and that was a shit
Mosh
show.
pit?
That was. I'll tell you, getting 24 players, it's bad, or it's busy enough in Cyrodiil, but then if you throw monsters in there and like. It was
a rave show.
Crazy, yeah, it
was.
was seizure inducing. It
Like
was
comes out with glow
it was-
sticks.
it was
This is
pretty-
amazing.
It was pretty crazy. But what's funny though is that initial iteration we had the braziers that lit up, and that led to Dragonstar and
Right.
how the waves and Dragonstar are notified. So that was all part of our prototyping for trials. That then we took a look at that and we were able to reuse that. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I remember some of the early iterations of classes resulted in some final mechanics that we got, but some of those early class mechanics, the names of some of the abilities, like more fire, MOAR, fire, and you just hit the one fire button, and then you hit better fire, cold fire. Like this was like.
That was before we realized.
It's in. Lawrence said, no.
So one of the things that we have to combat a lot when we're developing things is pop culture, and then
Oh my God. Inside jokes.
inside jokes. I was going to say cussing, right? We all we're all adults.
Shit,
we
yeah.
cuss. But this is a lot of the text that we put in the game can either A, be data mined, or B, will eventually go to the live servers at some point. And going through really early on, going through some of the check-in notes where it's like, fuck you, stupid thing, I can't fix you, right?
ASDF, DFSSDF.
Right, and stuff like, and so just looking back at that stuff and going, wow, like holy, this guy had a bad day. He couldn't figure out how to fix the bug, so he cussed at it. Right? Like,
Funny, speaking of that, we have an internal server that we do stuff, and I had originally built a set of armor that I could modify, and it was all like I thought it was hidden. So I have this entire set of armor that I used when I was testing trials and stuff like that, and I named it Finnigan's helm, Finnigan's shoulders, and stuff like that. So we were doing a Reddit AMA, and somebody goes, "Hey, when is that Finnigan's armor stuff going to drop?" And I was like,
pretty good.
"What are you
Yeah,
talking about?" And he links me like this data mine spreadsheet. It's got all of my listed things, and I was like, how'd you get that? And then Roble, as we were leaving the AMA, says, "Can't wait to see that Finnigan armor. I'm out." Mic drop.
Yeah, we have a couple test areas that we use internally for all kinds of stuff, and so there'll be training dummies that are named Eric Roble for people.
Eric Roble, we have a lot of
That's our favorite
Roble
training
dies a
dummy.
lot.
Yeah.
Roble dies a lot.
and Roble.
It's really satisfying. People test different boss abilities.
Yeah.
Every once in a while you have an NPC that if you get too close, they'll turn you into a chicken for no
Yeah.
reason because somebody was
Trog
testing
bomb.
something. Yeah.
Oh my God, the
And
trog bomb.
just
every time you go there, you never know what to expect.
just our play tests sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
We have a lot of development debugging commands that are access on the
bracket.
development servers, bracket commands,
Kill.
right? And so one of the favorite things that
Castigate.
people seem to think is
58.
really fun is run around just /killing people. So you'll be doing a quest and all of a sudden you die and you're like, what the hell? And then it's like GM death touch. You're like, oh, you a-hole. Or Jeremy's favorite thing.
Jeremy's favorite one is the
running
cats.
around and turning people into cats.
Or-
Because as a developer you can change player models. So he would just target somebody and turn him into a chicken.
There's actually
or
another
turn him into a
one,
cat,
and
or-
it's the cutest one where he casts it on you, and it summons like 12 kittens.
right.
Follow you
That
around.
just follow you around.
And you're like, where the hell did all these cats
Where'd all
come
these
from?
cats come from?
It's Jeremy laughing in his office.
Yes.
I think recently, some of the newer developers are finding the joy of crashing the server internally, and we always tell people
You're not a developer until you crash
Yeah,
the
that's
server.
exactly what we tell. It's like until you crash
Nothing
the
is
server.
worse than getting that message from
From
Ed
Ed
saying,
saying,
stop that
Stop.
shit.
Whatever you're doing, stop.
Infinite recursion loops. Really.
Yes,
Oh
yeah.
no!
Yeah.
Yeah, one of my
Yep.
first quests, I didn't realize that when you had an NPC get summoned to follow you, like for a quest, that them entering the area could trigger them
A
summoning
summon.
their own follower.
Yes,
And
yes,
so very
those
quickly,
infinite
when I
followers
was
are great.
playtesting, it was the whole server just went.
I'm told I need to
Person
spawn
in
this.
in this room right now who's visiting that has been on the end of
Yeah.
Ed's wrath a few times. Either, hi Chris,
He went like, oh shit. Don't talk about.
you know, our tool set is really powerful and it lets us do a lot of really cool things.
It also lets you break a lot.
It also lets you
Yeah.
break a lot of things, and so you know that's half the fun of development is trial and error and playing with
Let's see
things.
if this
Getting
works.
yelled at by
Oh.
Ed.
And then Ed.
The fun thing is when you find something that does work, and then you're like, all right, did it break anything? And
It's
you
very
wait
much
around.
the meme of like Tom Hanks from Castaway when he's like, "I've made fire." That's exactly what it
Yeah,
is.
exactly.
It's something you develop and it works right the first time. You're like, "This is
Yeah,
This is
this
great.
is
It
great.
works.
This how did this work? How did this
Yeah,
happen? I'm
yeah.
used to this being
Every once in a
broken."
while, something will just kind of hit you and
Yeah.
be like, "Can I actually do that?" Like we were,
Yeah.
That's how half of Jason Barnes' content comes to
There,
life.
there you go. We were
And Jeff goes,
like,
we were working late one night leading up to the game launching, and I don't know why, but we just got struck by there's this druid meditating outside a way shrine in Grotwood, just hanging out, real tranquil, peaceful. And we were doing something with harvest nodes, and there's a piece of lumber that spawns right next to him, just incidentally. And we were testing it, we were killing stuff, we were harvesting. We're like, man, he should really react. Like he's sitting there meditating.
He's a Bosmer.
He was a
Yeah,
Bosmer.
he's
just
a
sitting-
Bosmer, yeah.
And so we're like, we had a little bit of a VO budget left, and we had a little time. Where we're like, could we actually make him be offended that you're chopping wood right next to him? And I never see it come up, but he's still there. And he has a
And if
couple
you
of-
chop wood right next to him,
If
he'll
you
say,
chop-
"I'm right
We're like,
here."
You did that same meditator right here, and it just came together. We were like, can we even do that? And we tried it, and we could. And now it's in.
yeah, there's lots of like little Easter eggs.
Oh, yeah,
I
all
mean,
over.
in Cyrodiil, I have it.
Easter
I have a
eggs,
ton
big
in
ones.
Cyrodiil. Yeah, the fun one that I like is one of our content designers made this crazy skeleton dinner. And he's in there adjusting skeleton heads and stuff, walking around, putting plates down. And it's often some random location in Cyrodiil. And if you go up into his house, there's a skeleton sweeping away. And it has a dress on. If you kill the skeleton, you hear the guy go, "That's my right!" And he runs out there. And we were like, sure, why not? Sure. So there's all kinds of little things like that. Yeah, I mean, in every zone, if you
Oh,
just
yeah.
walk around and look for them,
Yeah, there's a
they're
house
everywhere.
that's just covered in monkeys for no reason. Just all the monkeys
That,
constantly.
they went a little crazy with the monkeys
They
in AD.
really
In
went
AD,
crazy.
there's
Yeah.
some
there's
monkey
a lot of
shrines. There's a lot of those.
So yeah, like the dog, sitting there at the gravestone, like, little sad moments and things. A lot of our encounters.
Dogs are
So-
definitely good for Easter eggs.
Yeah, they're
We
all
did.
over.
When we first do dungeons, we have a couple of different layers that we do for dungeons. So we have our designers that go in, and our designers are great, and some of them are really lore focused, and they go in and they want to focus and try to get the story right, so that when it goes to our fiction guy, he has very little to write. Some designers don't care as
Nope.
much about that because they know the text is going to be changed anyway. So we get the first iteration
too,
of
you
Oh, yeah.
the first iteration of Maw of
Doesn't work.
Lorcage. I believe the quest was kill the space kitty.
kitties. Yeah.
And
You killed the space
you
kitty,
talk to
great.
the NPC and he was like, "Gotta shut that maw. Gotta shut that maw. Shut the maw." And you're like, "Okay, I guess we're gonna have to change all this text." So there's a lot of that
doesn't go
stuff.
live.
One of our first designers had, and he thought that this was appropriate that the monster said, "Attack my target, my pretties," and I was like. That doesn't make sense. Like I'm targeting Rich. I'm targeting Rich. Attack him. So it's pretty funny to see that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the Drake of Blades, she started out not having a real identity.
She didn't have a tick. Yeah.
No, she didn't have an identity at all. And then after a while of figuring out how that character should act, one of our lead writers, Lehman, kind of said, she should just be straight up Asperger's-y. I don't care, just says whatever's on her mind. And Rich was like, yes!
Yeah.
So
And it was perfect.
it's like, and we would hear people delivering her lines, and the voice actor would come back, I was trying to make her sound a little empathetic. Like, no, make her sound like an asshole. She just doesn't know that she's offending the crap out of you. And that kind of goes with sort of the opposite of me and Mike when we put in a quest, kill this thing. Did you kill the thing? Great, good job. Reward.
Yeah.
And that turns into Drake of Blades having a personality and an attitude, and that's awesome that our writers can do that.
Yeah, I think that's key of our entire process, right?
Yeah.
Like it's an iterative process, and I think I've told this story before, but with Narcissus Dren, and Orsinium, he was always a storybook character in the books, and we decided we were going to bring him out and introduce him to people. And in the quest originally,
Spoilers, by the way.
right? If you haven't played it, sorry, spoilers. But in the quest, in the first cut, you didn't actually get to stuff him in the sarcophagus at the end. That came out of playtesting, and we were going through there, and we were like, he's such an asshole. Like, how do we want to get this guy back? And I don't remember who, but somebody decided, or shouted out the idea of, can we stuff him in the sarcophagus? And Janet, who was the person responsible for the quest, she got this really evil grin on her face, and she's like, "Oh, I love that! I can make this happen." And she went in, she put it in, and it still wasn't 100% because we needed some help with the art. But that first time you got to stuff him in the sarcophagus, it was magic. It was just like, yes, this feels good, right?
Yeah, sometimes it just clicks and everybody is on board and you try to make it happen.
So it's really cool, and and we kind of get that with player feedback as well. Like, it's not just developers that give that kind of feedback. Sometimes it's player feedback.
That's how the Chalamo came to be.
That's how the Chalamo came to be. That's how a lot of our bug fixes and tuning and tweaking, get in. There's one particular story that I like to tell with PTS feedback is a lot of people don't think we read the feedback.
That was huge.
And they don't. That we don't read any of that stuff. And there was this, I think it was for Update 6, the provisioning revamp, I think, where the potato lady, right, where she wrote this novel in feedback about how she had this family.
And we get feedback piecemeal. Like, here's one
Yeah,
thing
but
that
it
you
was
filled out,
like-
here's
it
another
was
thing
like-
you filled
like
out.
8 different pieces of feedback.
Yeah.
And we had
It was
to
all
put the
one
story
story.
together in order, but it was this heartfelt letter to us about how
She had a family.
she had a family and she was missing her family and going through, and I'm like, well, what the hell does this mean?
careless
Right? Then we got towards the end, and
the
it turned out
punchline.
that her family was a bunch of potatoes that she had in her inventory. And in the update, the potatoes got turned into leeks or
Yes.
something like that, and she wanted her family back. and it was actually a bug, and we found the bug and we fixed it, but that was one of the stories that we got back. And so there's all kinds of crazy
What's
shit.
great is we actually had a response that was written up to her. And things change over time, and you should accept them for who they are now. And I don't think it ever made that.
There was one that went in about the social classes, because with pickpocketing, one of the things we want to do, since we did so much work for making sure the kind of things you steal from people reflect their profession and what area they live in and their region and all that stuff, that somebody had given us feedback like, hey, this person is doing hard work around the statue. They really should be considered a laborer, not a commoner. Because they put in that time. And we went, we're like, hey,
We did it.
totally true.
Sure.
Let's change that flag. And now they're a laborer.
There's a funny part about that where we have sections in the game, like, and I've made comments about this, funnily on where you're running through and then you come across this like this village and you see this guy like working a farm, but he's called like a warrior. And you're like, and I'm like, that guy's not a warrior. This is totally like a propaganda thing. They think, you just want me to kill this entire farming village, and you just call them all warriors. So, but there was also that one story about when we put in the tech to group up objects in your inventory and then to pluralize them when it grouped them up.
Oh, yeah.
There was an interesting bug with that. So you would get 10 grapeses. And, and you would get breves instead of bread. And it was all kinds of beeves. That's what it was. Instead of beef, you would get beeves because it automatically tried to
Systemic
generate
solutions do not always
plurals
work.
for
No.
it.
Yeah.
I think probably the funniest Easter eggs come from the sound crew sometimes.
Oh,
Because they have...
we call them the fart crew sometimes.
Yes.
We have a pretty wacky group
Wacky is a good way of wording it.
Yes.
with our audio team.
Yeah,
They're pretty
to give you an
nuts.
idea, they have a test area where they're allowed to world build and do things
Are
in
you
their own
going
little
there?
area. And I'm not going to talk the fully about
Okay,
this
good.
thing because it's crazy, but you spawn in the sound test area, you walk over, there's ballistas and there's trebs and they're shooting them to hit the walls, and it's like, yeah, it sounds awesome. And then the further down the line, you start to hear this boom, 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 boom. You're like, what the hell is that? And you look over in the distance and you see this purple glade, and you're like, oh, what in the world? And you walk over to it and they have basically a bar scene going on where they're testing all the bar noises, but in a very lewd manner. We're just gonna put it away. And it's really funny when you
It's a
work
dance
with those
club
guys.
in Tamriel.
It's a very interesting dance club in Tamriel. But they that's kind of gets back to the toys that everybody has. Sometimes the sound guys go out of their way to make it a little bit crazy, but
yeah,
still
there
fun.
was-
Funnily enough, I'm actually on the same floor as the sound guys.
So
We get some very creative, like I said the fart crew because it's literally they had to do, or belching. That
I was going to say,
belching.
a couple weeks ago.
We
the
were
drunk
a couple weeks
personality.
ago,
Yeah.
and it was just nonstop
They were getting
belching.
people with
Just
2-liter bottles of
just chugging
Coke,
Coke,
and they were
going
drinking
into their
them all
office and just belching
nonstop.
over and over and over.
They couldn't get it quite right.
So they kept
It
doing
was
it.
more bass, it was a delay a little
of
bit
just
more.
nonstop.
What's great is like 2 of the audio guys are right outside the ESO live studio, so we have to like tell them, we're like, hey guys, we're gonna be
tone
running
down.
the ESO live. Can you
Just
not
a little bit,
belch
yeah.
so loud?
For like just
right
just
here?
like an hour or two. Just come on.
Yeah, just for 2 hours. Can you not do that?
Sometimes they would have us do voiceover work. Like they heard, like Conway knows that I do a lot
Some
of
of the
crazy
B-roll
noises.
stuff is pretty.
Some of that's really
B-roll
good, but the zombie came to be because he was like, "Can you do a zombie?" I was like, "Yeah, sure. I'll come up and do a zombie noise, sure." And then he was like, "Can you make it sound like you're eating flesh?" I was like, "Let me go get an orange." And I would come up and like, and he was like, "Holy!" And so he just lost his mind, and that's kind of like how the zombie noise came to be. But then when they tried to get the female version of it, they had like a female actress from South Park doing her voice, and she was trying to act like Day of the Dead or whatever. Like, no, sound like this. And they flipped on me, the B-roll of me, not only doing the noise, but also cussing like crazy, and Conway laughing in the background. He's like, so which one do you really want me to sound like? Because they both sound insane. So that was a lot of fun hearing the stories from them coming back, here, recording not only the side guys, but the main guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when we record, speaking of recording, when we record VO for the first time, it comes back and then we review it and we go, okay, this kind of works and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So I know that we first got Clivia Thorne back for White Gold Tower. She, some of her lines are really, really good, and some of them, I think I said that she sounded like, she kind of sounded like AC/DC. And she was like,
that one.
Like, it was just totally like, we were like, are we really going to use this? It's like,
You did for a long time.
we did, and I actually asked the audio guys to like play like Thunderstruck right after. I'm like, yo, the scroll. Yeah, we're trying to go, but sometimes we get that back, and I know that the Argonian Behemoth in Ruins of Mazatoon is the same guy who does the voice of the Incredible Hulk on the Avengers. So when you hear him, now I can't hear anything but the Incredible Hulk when he's talking. So that's pretty interesting too, that we're able to get familiar voices.
Yeah.
We also come across like an unbelievable number of crazy bugs that never make it to live. Where,
But we love them.
I don't
we
know what
love
you're
them,
talking about.
but like we had one where one point
Like
all
the faceless, but it was only eyeballs.
Oh my god, those are traumatizing.
All those
With
creepy-
all the eyeballs are out of the head
Yeah,
and just floating like 2
it looks
inches
like
in
a Crypt
front of it. Or
we
the
had the-
Argonians had the shrunken heads for like a
that
week.
was the Argonians because the helmets, and then you would take the helmet off, but it's kept the head the same, and it was
so
all
it's like
small.
Beetlejuice,
Yeah.
like shrunken head, just running around.
Or they
like,
applied
twitchy
the
and
mount.
stuff.
They applied the mount rigs to other people, so they
Oh
were
my
all
God,
stretched
that
out.
was
and-
nightmare
That was
fuel.
really
That was
creepy.
nightmare
That's
fuel.
Basically-
whenever figure messes with, this is what it's gonna look like, and you log in and the character's like Pink Tron. You're like, oh, figure's messing with stuff
Yeah,
this week.
stretching a player
They usually
to a
have to
horse
email
model,
us,
but
yeah.
keeping the player animation is just.
They usually email us and say, "Hey, this isn't going to look right for a while, so
Yeah.
we don't need 8 million emails on this." So.
You're just like bright pink for a week.
Yeah,
and you're
yeah.
like, what's going on?
I think some of my favorite things are some of the things that players do.
Yeah.
You know, I touched on this a little bit earlier, but you know, with the Jubilee cake, right? You know,
You love it when they act like assholes.
Well, I'm kind of a troll, and so with the Jubilee cake, you know, it's this cool thing that you get to put down, and there's a piece of cake on the top of it and whatnot, and you can interact with it and eat it. Well, players found that they control their raid groups, their trial groups, in Ethereum Archive. You know, when you kill the mage at the end, a portal spawns. Well, a lot of smartasses will drop the Jubilee cake on top of the portal, and then you can't actually click on the portal because you're clicking on the Jubilee cake. You know, same thing at the very beginning of the trial. You know, it's 3, 2, 1, go, click on the door. Jackass drops a Jubilee cake on the door, and you can't go through the door. You
Now
know,
everybody's going to be doing that because I don't think.
Yeah, right.
you know, it's lots of things like that. You know, it's something that we fixed, but it was kind of amusing, which is, you know, some of the tower farming stuff that was there. You know, where you could, you know,
Still there right now.
it's still there right now, right? We fixed that stuff, but that's stuff that, we don't really think about how the players are going to interact with that.
We have our QA department tries to get all of the trolley things and the exploits and stuff like that, but they will miss some.
Yeah, there's always going to be emergent behavior, and then we have to kind of
Emergent
decide,
behavior.
Are we going?
That's a good word.
Well, sometimes we want to roll with it, and sometimes
It's
we
many
need
times
to-
because we give people the benefit of the doubt. We're like, nobody's going to be that much of an
Oh yeah,
asshole,
they are.
and
Oh,
then
yeah, they are. Yeah.
they are. So.
They always are. But sometimes it can be a good thing where it's like, well, why are they trying to do that? Maybe we can give them tools to do that in a way that's not destructive.
I mean, speaking of watching players do that, when we watch them on Twitch, and when Fangrush used to bounce through the world in Imperial City sewers, and he's running around in Grid World, he's like, here we are, folks, running around in the Grid World underneath of Imperial City. And he goes on a tour, and we're like, all right, sure, I'll have popcorn and watch this. And, you're just waiting for him to jump through and attack people, and then, of course, that results in us fixing things, but that gets back to QA watches it, we watch it, but then when we watch streams, we see even more stuff that's
Some streams
funny.
are really fun to watch, too.
Oh, yeah.
Just, maybe it's, again, the troll in me, but, watching I'm going to pick on Fangrush, but Fangrush has a way of, kind of getting really amped up and really angry about
That's a
certain
nice way of
things.
putting it, amped up.
Yeah.
And, just knowing, can I out you?
By all means. By all means.
So during Imperial City,
My first night really in Imperial City.
Yeah, his first night in Imperial City, he
Was
brought...
Fangrush in chat?
I hope so. He brought his tank in, and he was totally tanked
Like
up and
straight
whatnot.
up PvE tank. I'm just focused on PvE tank, but I wanted to check out the event.
And Fangrush is streaming, and he's already triggered because he's died a few times and whatnot, and so
Triggered.
He's and it doesn't help that I'm kind of egging him on and whatnot.
I'm with a trading guild that decided to go into Imperial City for the night. Nobody's PvP. Nobody's 531.
Yeah.
We're just kind of wandering around.
And Fangrush runs into Phil, and he's just a brick fucking wall.
I just
And
turtle up. What
he
else am I
turtles up.
gonna do?
Fangrush is like, what? And Fangrush got so angry he started, insulting his manhood and doing stuff like that. And Phil is just like,
I'm like, wow, man.
this is my second time here, and I'm getting hate tells from Fangrush. This is awesome.
He's like, I'm hating.
Baby's first PvP achievement. Like welcome
So good.
to Imperial City.
There's
So yeah,
another.
it's fun being anonymous as a dev, on the server.
But it's also fun not being anonymous because King Richard, Fangrush, some of those guys know who I am.
They'll hunt you down.
And King Richard.
No.
King Richard one time was
Drunk
running
stream,
around.
that was funny.
He's running around in Imperial City and he sees me running around in Imperial City too. And he asked me to group up. I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And so we're running around together and he's streaming and he's drunk when he's doing this one. He has a drunk stream and he's entertaining when he's going off. But he's running around and we love Roble to death. But one of the things he says is, I gotta protect Wheeler from Roble's bugs. I'm running around like crazy. So it's so funny just hearing that. And I was like, I can't comment on this, but it's so funny hearing those guys just lose their minds. But also inside we're like, so-and-so said this about you last night. And Roble goes, yeah. So I'm gonna fix it anyway. So it's always fun to play with them and hear their reactions.
So Rich streams too.
Yep.
And it's great because I like to go into his stream and because he's streaming the other day and he was in PvP and he was running around and there was a lot of people with different factions in there. So I immediately was like, and I was on my Zos Finn name, so I was like, hey, free plushie to anybody that kills Rich. And
guess what I did the whole night?
It was great. And one of the people in there was like, are you serious? And you see her, she says in chat, I'm going to go get him. And then you see her run through every other person
get to you.
to suicide
Thanks,
into
Jules.
Rich and take him out.
Yeah.
So that's good to
I mean, that's kind of a fun
troll.
thing now that like you and me are the streamers, the lunatic dev streamers that go out there and say, this is our @ name, sure, come and find us. And Imperial City last year, that turned into pretty much everybody hunting me down, and then you learn the joy of stream delay. But Rich doing streaming of Vet Maelstrom, we had an F counter one time. He was doing it. It got I think to 83 on one of his streams.
Yeah, I might have cussed.
It's fun though.
I don't know why.
I love it, but I might have
Yeah,
cussed. I might have cussed you out.
You might have
specifically.
you might have cussed me out.
And that's kind of gets to like it's not only just what you said, development is organic, but the fact that we're also humans and act like
We're humans and we use
Loons and
words like
stupids.
whoops-a-doodle.
Some of them.
He has like the
Canadian in
Canadian
me.
slang terms that nobody understands.
Fucksicles and
Fucksicles and whoopsadoodle.
that's not him throwing stamsicles for you to get. That's him actually being upset.
I think we'd put that on your door. Isn't it like Rich Whoops-a-Doodle Lambert, creative director?
I bet it's there now.
It will be there tomorrow
Will be
or the
soon.
next day. Yes, very sure. I'm trying to think of other like silly developmental stories for Cyrodiil besides physics and alternate ones. That was when we found out we can't have physics in multiple copies. So there used to be a case where we had 3 Cyrodiils running, and we broke down a wall in one of the campaigns. And then in another campaign, you just run right through the wall. And
Yep.
what the hell's going on?
Whoops.
And it took us like a month to figure out. It was sharing the physics process, and that turned into sorry, dungeons can't have
Yeah,
actual.
dungeons can't have physics, yeah.
That was a fun one.
We can do it in
terms
a
of
different way
trolling.
in dungeons.
Yeah,
We
troll.
handle things different way in dungeons. Yeah.
But yeah, some of those accidents are necessarily funny stories, but the whole banging your head against the wall for an hour of what the hell
Goes back to that exact science thing. It's
Yeah.
not,
Yeah,
it's not
totally.
an exact science, and a lot of times it's trial and error and trying to dig through the problem as best you can.
Yeah, there was one time that came up where I think they were using dead horses as like decoration for a world boss or something,
Yes.
but all the audio did not get turned off, and so you just hear like screaming horses surrounding you. Like it was
like when you were
trauma.
totally
should have kept that in game. Why is that not
It
there?
was awful. And so that had to get cleaned up.
Yeah, we fixed
We
it.
get that every once in a while where we'll change like the model, but it won't change the audio model, so that like a skeleton runs, you're like, oh, that's totally not what that's supposed to be.
But it sounds funny as
Yeah,
hell.
right. It does sound funny.
You know, the lip syncing is crazily
Yeah,
off, or like
yeah.
the adornment is like off to the side, and costume mismatches. and-
Oh,
Yeah,
what's
so-
great is like when we initially put in stuff, we have this build that runs overnight and it puts in what's called Robo VO, which is like just a robotic VO that never gets to the live servers because we have real VO by then.
course
But
not.
it's
Sometimes never.
it's so great to hear it the first time with "I'm going to do," it's
pure monotone computer voice, and it's this, big
And it can
epic
do male
moment,
and female.
and it's, yeah.
And it's just there to block out the timing, give us an idea for scripting, but sometimes it gets really weird.
Trying to think of some homages we've done to other Elder Scrolls games in there. We try to get the
have
adoring
Malik.
fan in
There's
at one point.
there's lots. So I think one of the things that I've had the most fun with, in terms of the lore and the history, is taking a lot of the lore books that you've only ever read in the game and then translating those into actual events.
Yeah.
There's a few really cool ones. We keep going back to what the hell is it in Glenumbra? Chris, help me out here. I know you know the one. Barnsley's one.
crap.
I don't recall.
Well, you're thinking
Crap
about
is what
that.
it
I
was.
remember when we did in Cyrodiil, when you clicked on a book, it shot you up in the air like the guy that was doing the flight scroll from Oblivion.
Yeah.
But we kept having the case where when you land, it killed you right away, and we're like, oh, we can't really do that because that's a free res in PvP.
Right.
So
It was the Battle of Glenumbra Moors. That was the one where that was a book. That was actually a series of books. And the designer Jason went through and was like, "This is a really cool story. I want to tell this story." And so we got to show the story in game, way back in history, which is really, really cool. Being able to do that stuff.
that's what Lawrence helps out a lot with that. But Lawrence also puts us in check a lot when we have those said, "Go kill the thing, and the thing is dead. Good for you. Good job." And then Lawrence goes, "Yeah, you can't."
What was that thing
call it
recently that
that.
we tried to name, and he said it's absolutely not going to be named this. No, we
Wasn't it
That's like
Item?
everything we
Yeah,
name.
yeah, it's half the things we put in there is like you're absolutely not naming this.
I got a good one about the colors. Holy. So
for
these three colors over here.
Red,
blue,
green.
And green. It's not green.
Faded yellow.
It's supposed to be yellow. We have the banners in here right now. It's a green Old Mary banner and a red Evanhard banner and a blue. Shut up, it's green. So when we initially were discussing the colors of the alliances, it was going to be primary colors: red, blue, yellow. And then somehow, some way, when these banners got made a long time ago, they came back green. And we're like, ah. And then Jared, our art director, goes, "Why are they green?" And then some of the assets in game started to be green. He goes, "Wait a minute, we're going to have the alliance that is in the woods the most have green banners. No, it's not going to work." And I was like, "That's what I said. It's going to be yellow." And there were so many arguments about what is iconic, red versus blue, in terms of you look at Cobra versus G.I. Joe, you look at Decepticons.
This is where we
versus
go. This is
all
where
the
we
rest of
always
it.
take a
It's
look at it.
red and blue.
Historical conflict. Cobra versus G.I. Joe.
Red and blue,
Yeah, red
right.
and blue.
So it's
Smurfs
funny
versus
how-
Gargamel. This is stuff that you have to think
Asriel.
about.
Yes. It's ingrained in your head about those colors. But that banner on there.
the green banner.
Can we just dye them or something?
It's not. I'm not colorblind, I swear. No. Trying to think of some other Alliance War stories that resulted in, yeah, sure, why not? Like, we couldn't get Coral to be properly slated out, so we said, fuck it, let's put an earthquake through there. And that's why there's now Coral's getting ripped apart, and Lawrence went, yeah, sure, the explosion of whatever caused that. Yeah. And he can just tell you, this is the
Yeah, he's
lore
got a
behind
great
it.
job.
Yes,
You know,
I wish I
because,
had his job
you know, half the time I don't know if he's just making shit up or if he actually really knows it.
Sometimes.
You know, it's like, Lawrence, how does this work? And he just rattles off a bunch of stuff. I'm like, really? And he's like,
That sounds
no.
good.
Sure.
And then I'm like, really? And he, no, really, that's how it works. And so, you know, he's got a
Yeah, he did. It's pretty awesome for us to be able to like, hey, I want to do this. Can I
He's
do
also
this?
the
And
only
him
one
like,
that
yeah.
can pronounce 90% of the names in the game.
Including
Oh,
the
God,
Switzerland
Zipkin.
one. Oh my gosh.
One of the things that is part of Lawrence's job is he has to
the pronunciation
manage the
guide.
pronunciation guide.
Yes.
And for our voice actors, most times Lawrence has to record how to say the name so that the voice actor can get it right. Because, you know, we have, you know, some of the
Dwemer
Dwemer
names have like 38 consonants in it.
Yeah, and you're like, how the hell do I say this? And you just go, and you're like, really?
Sure, that works.
Okay. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, we have a whole lore list where sometimes it gets really heated. Well, it's like, well, in the third age, this clearly stated, and you know, going back.
Funny
and
thing
forth
about
until-
names, we had when we were developing City of Ash.
This is bullshit.
So we have a list. We have a list
Triggered,
of
triggered.
we have a list
In chat,
of
see
names,
triggered
like
goes up.
approved names for lore, and they were based on race and gender and stuff like that. So we would whenever we would go through and create a new zone or something like that, we would pull one of these names off the list, exit off, say we can't use this. So we were going through and we were naming the elf. I was naming one of the elves in City of Ash, and this is an elf that you're going to talk to, and it's the married
Rich is just
person.
shaking his head.
And so,
This is bullshit.
so I'm looking through the wood elf names, and I see a name that's Finganian.
Finganian. You
And
made
it's
that name
Finganian,
up.
and I was like, oh, I'm using that name. So I use it, and ever since then, people are like, hey, did you make? I know. I was like, it was on the list.
You're not
It was
supposed to name
on the
yourself.
list. It was literally on the list, and he doesn't. He was used more prominently in City of Ash Veteran, but so I was able to use pretty close to my name.
It's kind of funny how development of the game has shaped us into our various alliances that we play on live.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you play Aldmeri for
I
a
do.
very specific
'Cause he's
reason.
lazy.
I play Aldmeri Dominion because I'm lazy. It's exactly
Why
right.
are you
So
lazy?
Aldmeri
Because-
Dominion is the only starter island that has all 6 shards on it. The other ones, you have to go to an island and another island.
Two
And I
whole
was
places.
totally lazy, so I was like, I just want to get all these shards all at once, so that's why I play AD.
I think I played
I'm
Daggerfall.
Aldmeri because I worked on a bunch of the Grotwood content.
Yeah.
And so
Ah,
I
yeah.
wanted to be able to go through it.
That's why I
He's a
don't play
homer.
Old Mary. So just kidding.
You remember that original tree, was that in Grotwood or Green Shade? The tree?
The big tree?
The Elden tree.
The Elden tree
tree.
that sounded like a chimney sweep.
Yeah.
You know? Oh, I'm an Elden tree! You know, it was like, we've since changed
Oh,
it.
that
We've
one.
changed
Yeah,
his
yeah.
name.
Talking
We've changed
about
it.
Elden Root,
He
yeah.
sounds more,
Yeah.
he sounds
The
more
various
ancient
forms
and
of the
old.
Elden tree
Yeah.
that we
Yeah.
had. Elden Hollow, Elden Root was.
Elden Root had so many issues.
That took us like a year to get right.
Yeah.
You know,
The
first we wanted to
metrics
have
were-
like this
Yeah.
this big tree that was up in the, you know, various
stratosphere,
platforms
yeah.
up in the stratosphere, and you know, we didn't really care at the time about, you know, having, you know, rails on platforms and things. So in your play tests, you're running around and woo, splat,
In fact,
die.
the Telethin in EverQuest. Yeah.
How many times have you played Bleak Rock Isle?
Oh.
How many?
How many times?
Mike,
Bleak
it's
Rock.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Or the Cold Harbor tutorial.
Bleak Rock? I bet you I have played through Bleak Rock Island at least 60 times.
Minimum.
Minimum times. Every
I mean,
single quest
just in,
over and
in
over.
development, yeah, we did that. We did
that-
a lot.
that's,
So-
you know,
So
that's,
when are you going to make your Ebonheart character on live?
I already have one.
When are you going to make
I have
it?
one in every
Redo it?
alliance.
Oh, there we go.
And I have one class of every alliance. Oh, Jess is like, shut up, stop talking.
But we were just having fun.
Oh, I mean, we could BS
Teacher.
forever. So,
Teacher.
I think we're supposed to be done.
I would just
now.
say start wrapping it up because we have to prep for our dungeon
Oh,
raid.
Oh, Dungeon
and
Race
we get to
coming
hear
up,
Mike
that's
talk.
right.
So
Yeah.
these
people?
stories are super fun, and oh man, I
we
love
gonna-
hearing them. But yeah, we do have to prep for our dungeon race. So
got any
if you guys have
questions
one or
about
two more
development,
stories
or-
you want to
No,
How
share,
about a question or two?
Yeah,
Does anybody have
Yeah?
a question about
Question
anybody from our
Development.
live audience
Development.
have a question?
Or anything?
Hi, I'm a software engineer intern at Intel, and I am very interested in becoming a video game engineer in the future. But I'm most interested in what is the process like from you coming up with an idea, putting it into the game? Do you describe the development environment that you go through?
The development environment.
It's a lot of
varies.
pain.
It
It's a lot of.
It's not. It depends on what it is, right?
Yeah.
So if it's content in particular, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll write out acceptance criteria. These are kind of the high level points that I would like this particular area to cover, either from a story perspective or just the amount of content or the types of content in there. And then I'll sit down with Jeremy and his team, go over that, and then have them write up a zone design doc. And then they'll pitch that to me. We'll go through it. Once that's approved, goes back to the team, and that's where they start going through and really fleshing out, here's the exact storylines, and here's how all the quests work, and here's the art assets that we need, and so on and so forth. And then that slowly starts getting disseminated out to the teams who are also working with it. And that's kind of how everything works. Like with Phil,
Yeah.
same thing. We work
They
together
have a
to
lot more
figure out.
design and tech reviews with
Yeah, the systems process has a few more gates to it because we need to
Brings
make
in
sure
more engineers.
Everything, is going to integrate correctly with everything else, and so we'll get the acceptance criteria.
I'm clicking it otherwise. so
Oh,
I'll
okay,
just-
yeah.
We'll get the acceptance criteria, write up a preliminary design, iterate on it internally, iterate on it with anybody that may have anything to do with the system, and then when we feel like it's pretty strong, we take it to the engineers, we take it to the leads. We say, hey, is this going to work? And if anything fundamentally needs to change, we go back through that process until we're happy with it, and then we schedule and implement it. And then,
before it hits the servers.
Yeah, we try to
before
make
it is
sure that we've
service,
kind of
yeah.
thought of as many angles as possible before we spend all of the really expensive time, which is engineering time.
Yeah, we
to get in there.
Before we
and
get the
start
wizards
doing
to do it.
we try to iterate on paper and on our Confluence, our wiki page and stuff before we actually start implementing as much as possible.
Some of it's a little easier though.
Yeah.
Some discussions like me and Rich have about PvP because he runs around in Cyrodiil, I run around in Cyrodiil, and it's like, so this thing that's really annoying the hell out of us, do we want to change it?
Yes, please.
Yes. It's like, all right, well,
Cool.
let's, and we sit there and we have like an hour discussion of devil's advocate, what are the arguments we're going to see, what are we not going to see, and then we go, okay, we'll pull the trigger on it. So some decisions, if they're things that already exist in the game and you want to change it, they're shorter discussions, but stuff from scratch
Oh, yeah.
that
Yeah.
Phil is
Yeah.
one of the wizards of, that can take a longer time to do.
Yeah, we really need to make sure.
We do one
get
more
it right.
question, Jess?
I think so. There was
Okay.
actually a shout out to you guys from Sigtrick in
Siggy?
chat.
Siggy.
He says, thanks for naming Sig Allfriend and Abba's Landing after me.
That's like Finganian.
Do we have one more question from our live audience here? Anybody?
Anything about
No.
ESO or game development or?
You can always ask us afterwards.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
When Mike's running people through dungeons and
Making fun of them.
heckling the crap out of them.
Somebody's
All
running a
right, so
trial.
next up, we are going to watch
Somebody's running a trial.
Beyond
They are running a trial.
Infinity
Yeah. It looks like
and
something
Hodor, who are two super awesome, talented
Super.
rating guilds in Europe. So they've stayed up very late for this. Thank you guys.
They are. I think it's like
They're
1
gonna
a.m. their time.
race
Crap,
It's
yeah.
like 1 a.m. their
to
time.
see who can get through Veteran Ruins of Mazatoon the quickest. So
Well,
we will
have
return
to kill everything.
in just about 15 minutes to do that, and we hope you stay tuned to watch and cheer on your favorite team. I think Beyond Infinity is going to go first.
Oh, it's one after the other?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to do time.
Ooh, nice.
So the pressure will be on for Hodor.
All right, no pressure.
All right, we'll be right back. Thanks, everybody,
Thanks,
and thank
Bobby.
you all
Thank you
for
all.
joining us in the
Thanks.
audience.